All right, so Alexander Usyk has a fight. It's not the fight we wanted, right? We wanted Kabayel. At least I wanted Kabayel for Usyk to fight next. This guy Rico, right? Rico Verhoeven, I believe his last name is. This is a mismatch. Okay, let's get that out early. This is a complete mismatch. Now, in saying that, there's nuance to this. I don't actually mind this fight too much, right? The Ngannou fights against Fury and AJ, I didn't like that, because Ngannou is an MMA guy. You know, he spends half his time wrestling, jiu-jitsu, right, and all of that. So he doesn't have boxing skills. He's got some boxing skills, of course. In MMA they do boxing training as well, but it may be, 20% of what they do. Whereas this guy is a kickboxer, high-level kickboxer, undefeated for I think 12 years. He spends at least half his time, probably more like 60 to 70% of his time, focused on boxing, focused on his hand skills, boxing skills, so there's that. Now, also something interesting about this guy is that he's actually been working with Peter Fury, who's going to be training him for this fight. He's been working with Peter Fury for 15 years. I watched the interview with Peter Fury, and he said, yes, this guy, he's been working with Rico for the last 15 years. So even before this guy was a world champion kickboxer, heavyweight kickboxing world champion, Peter Fury was working with him before that in boxing. He's been his boxing coach for 15 years, right? Now that's a long time to be doing boxing. Okay, so it's not like Ngannou, in the way that Ngannou was an MMA and then got this fight with Fury, and then got this fight with Joshua. It's not like that with this guy. This guy has been doing boxing training for the last 15 years. Okay, and at a high level too. Peter Fury, he's had Tyson Fury. He trained Tyson Fury, right, his nephew. He also trained his son, and his son made it to quite a high level. He's still an active boxer now, Hughie Fury. I listened to a little interview with Hughie Fury as well, and apparently he's done hundreds of rounds with this guy Rico. So my point is, this guy Rico, he's been in camp with Tyson Fury, Hughie Fury, and as well as other guys that have been through their camp. Eddie Chambers, David Adelaide. There's been quite a few guys that have gone through the Fury camp. So Rico, this guy Rico here, not only is he heavily focused on boxing anyway, kickboxers use boxing gloves in kickboxing, as opposed to MMA where they use the smaller gloves. So, and my point is, this guy's got a lot more going for him in terms of being a boxer than Ngannou did. Now, do I like this fight, no. Rico has zero chance of winning, right? Zero. He doesn't have a chance in hell of beating Alexander Usyk. But again, it's not as bad as the Ngannou fights, right? Or just the MMA fighter like Conor McGregor fighting Mayweather. You know, it's not that bad because Rico has actually been boxing, training in boxing and sparring high-level heavyweights for a long time. You know, so boxing heavyweights. So at least he's got that experience behind him. And, you know, Peter Fury, I like Peter Fury, you know, the way he talks. Very smart guy. He'll have Rico as ready as he can be. Again, it doesn't matter because Usyk is the best fighter in the world. Such a high level that, you know, he doesn't have a chance. But I just want to point that out, you know, that this fight isn't as bad as the other clown fights. This is actually, you know, the guy Rico might put up a fight for a few rounds. You know, I say a few rounds. Usyk's that good that he'll have this guy figured out in 2 or 3 rounds. Probably take him out in the mid rounds, maybe round 5, round 6. But yeah, I don't actually mind this one. The other reason I don't mind this is because Usyk is at the end of his career. You know, most guys in his position, I mean, he's made millions of dollars. He's at the top. He's, close to 40 years old. He could just choose to retire right now. You know, nobody would blame Usyk for retiring right now because, you know, he's up there in age. He's at retirement age. So that's another thing. You know, Usyk could decide, I'll walk away from the sport. But instead he's giving us another fight, right? Albeit against a kickboxer. But yeah, that's another reason, because I don't expect Usyk to be taking on challenge after challenge, you know, with these young boxers coming through. Okay, I don't expect Usyk to hang around for the next 3 years and beat off all challengers, because there's always going to be a new challenger coming through. So I'm fine with him taking this fight as a retirement fight, right? And then the third thing is, you know, yes, I'd like to see him fight Kabayel, but do I give Kabayel a realistic chance of beating Usyk? No, I don't. You know, I think the chances of Kabayel beating Usyk are very, very slim. You know, same with the other challengers. Fabio Wardley, I give him less of a chance than Kabayel. You know, Italma might be one that could be a problem for Usyk, but not yet, because he's not ready yet. He hasn't done anything to deserve a fight against Usyk, and he's just not ready for that level, right? So yeah, this is my point, you know, that Usyk, he could have retired. He's at that age where he can walk away from the sport and not be questioned. Rico, like I say, 15 years of working with Peter Fury in the boxing gym, in the Fury gym. He should have decent boxing skills, right? And, you know, in terms of other challenges for Usyk, I don't see a guy that can beat him. You know, not in the next year anyway. Italma might grow and be a real threat to him in a year or so. But again, that's an extra year for Usyk. You know, he's going to be over 40 years old then. He's going to be maybe 41 years old. I don't know exactly how old Usyk is, but he's probably 39 right now, if not 40. So, you know, it wouldn't be fair to let Usyk fight on for another year and then this Italma guy gets the fight, and he's 22 years old. That's not a, we don't want to see that happen. I don't anyway. I don't want to see Usyk 41, 42 years old against a Talma. That wouldn't be fair, right? I want to see this guy that's done it all walk away at this age. But yeah, he's given us the fight against Rico, and I don't mind it, right? I think it'll be interesting. Like I say, Rico, he should have some decent boxing skills, and the fact that he's a reigning kickboxing champion and has been for many years, he might present some problems, but again, I think Usyk will win this in the mid rounds. Might take 2 or 3 rounds to figure him out and then take him out. I'm going to say round 6 or 7. That's the way I see it. Let me know what you think.